Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Sylver 999 Fine Silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Sylver.
It's Marshall Sylver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
Marshall Sylver. Marshall Sylver Live is live right now. Excited to be with you. We got a great show today. You're going to love the guest. In fact, the guest could change your life forever, make you a boatload of money, and just help you understand that life doesn't need to be difficult. It's just different. On today's show, we've got Stephen Vesper coming to you live from Hawaii. He's got over 2 decades of real estate, finance, and investing experience. He brings a wealth of experience in both traditional and non-traditional finance, mortgage, and investment banking. He's also got extensive experience inside of private equity, funding, and more. His experience spans contract underwriting, loss mitigation, short sales, REO sales, you name it, he's probably done it. He's a natural leader. He's honed his skills collaborating with industry leaders, delivering results through keen attention to detail and strategic thinking. And more than that, he's a guy whose lifestyle you should be jelly of. Coming to you live from the beach in Hawaii, Big Marshall Sylver Live. Welcome to Stephen Vesper. Welcome home.
Can you guys hear
Glad
me?
you're with me, man. What beach are you on?
So this is a little bay called Hawaii Kai. It's on the east side of Oahu, and it's beautiful, beautiful little area. So yeah, I'm about 25 minutes from Waikiki. So if you're familiar with Oahu, that's about 25 minutes east of Waikiki.
So let's just dive right in. You own a company along with Adam Kay called Note Matrix, and most people don't understand what notes are, and I want them to really get it. This show is really important for right now with all that's going on in the world, all that's going on inside of real estate. There has never been a more opportune, more perfect time for people to learn about and invest in notes than right now. Never been a better time. We've got a whole lot of stuff about to happen with the election coming on, and I strongly urge people to watch the entire show while we're together and also to tell their friends. And also, we've got a great gift for just 5 people at the end of the show from you that I'll tell people about in a bit. So first, tell us about you. Tell us about your experience and your history. Then I want you to help educate everybody watching about notes.
Sure. So got into real estate finance about 24 years ago, and I started out essentially as a loan officer. So this is back in the early 2000s, and started originating loans and excelled very well, made extreme money very quickly with it. And a few months in, was offered a director of sales position. So I started running a team and did that for another year and a half and started to plateau. I wanted to learn more, had this appetite just to learn more. So I switched from, and this is on the brokerage side. So we were doing the origination piece where we would bring in borrowers and do loans with the banks and send those applications to the banks. So I wanted to learn more. So I segued into the actual banking side and started as an account executive. So then I was selling interest rates to all the brokers. I'd go around to all the broker shops, show them our products. And at the time, the pay option arm was the super loan that was out. So it was 4 payment options in one. You got a negative amortization, interest only, fully amortization on a 30-year, and then one on a 15. So that blew up. Everybody was doing that. And then I segued into underwriting. So what was great about that is we had different warehouse lines with different lenders. So we had Bear Stearns, Morgan Stanley, Chase, Countrywide, Bank of America, and I used to underwrite to all of those different warehouse lines. And so everything was going good.
For those that don't know, what's a warehouse line?
Warehouse line is essentially when you are a correspondent broker banker, you have the ability to write and fund loans based on a warehouse line of money. So it's like a warehouse of just thinking about a warehouse building with a ton of cash stacked in it, just for an analogy. But it's just a constant flow of funds to write and fund.
So basically,
loans.
It's a credit line for people that fund.
Essentially, yeah. So what we would do is package up a deal, do the underwriting. If it met all the guideline specifics, all the boxes were checked and the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted, we'd fund that deal, right? So we'd write that loan and go straight to the warehouse that it was coming from, or the investment bank,
Right.
and they would fund that deal. So everything's going good until 2008 when the market collapsed, and it was just crazy. And I actually showed up to the bank I was working for at the time. It was called Pro 30 Funding. We showed up after we heard wind that stuff's coming down the pipeline. It's going to get really bad. The next Monday, we showed up to the office. The doors were locked. Couldn't even get in. We're like, are you kidding me? What am I going to do? So I'm freaking out. Jumped to another bank, and I was doing remote underwriting for them. And their hub was up in San Francisco. So they'd fly me up there, but I worked out of Carlsbad. And that bank went down 6 months later. So, and this was when the implosion happened. So all the volatile loans were written, all the high LTVs, all the foreclosures, they just plummeted values. Interest rates went through the roof. No one could refi, couldn't make payments. And so, that after that bank went down, I was recruited by a law firm to do contract underwriting and loss mitigation. So essentially I switched sides, right? Which was tremendous for this because that's what gave me strength in doing what I'm doing now, essentially. So it couples with the loan origination, the underwriting, the funding, all that experience that I got working for the lenders in the beginning piece, then working for the law firm where we were now helping homeowners fight the banks. So we were doing loss mitigation and foreclosure defense, loan modifications, and actually switch sides. So I was like the bank's worst nightmare because I knew what it took to get a deal done as far as the funding goes and what the qualifications were to get a modification done and all that stuff. So that was tremendous. So that went on for another year. And then I realized you can buy mortgages. And so in 2010, I reached out to some connections I had on the secondary mortgage market and said, hey, I keep hearing that you can buy mortgages. Is this something you can do? And they're like, yeah, as long as you have enough money and you have a loan servicer. And I'm like, get out of here. So bam, that's when I got into it. 2010, I'm like, I'm buying mortgages. I'm becoming a bank. And so the strength that I'm pulling from came from that experience of everything else I went through prior. And so I didn't have any problem with buying a non-performing loan. Let me specify, because there's different options of loans. You can get a performing loan and it's just mailbox money. You sit back with your feet up, you're collateralized in any of the real estate loan purchases you're doing, you're extremely protected in the deal. But there's different ways of buying them. So you have a cash flow option, you sit back and collect that mailbox money, or which is a higher price loan if it's performing. Or if you buy a non-performing loan, you're going to get it at a deep discount. We're talking 40 to 60 cents on the dollar. And that's where the cream of the crop is with profits. We're talking 40 to 80% rips and returns, 40 to 80% returns per deal. That's the strategy to get into. And it's just as important to find a note and how to work through it as it is to get out of it. You got to know what to do once you buy it. Once you buy it, what are you going to do with it, right? So that's all the stuff that I figured out with doing the loss mitigation and doing the loan modifications and doing the foreclosure defense. When I started buying mortgages, I already knew how to work through all that stuff. And it was just like, I could do it with my eyes closed. So kicked that off. I started off as a facilitator. So I was doing trades and just facilitating. I'd bring a buyer and seller together. I'd make a spread off of it. I started watching how they're doing it, how the dynamics of the the deal goes, the nuances to it, how you do due diligence, how you properly evaluate a deal, till a point where I got comfortable enough to start buying them. And then I went to a group and said, hey, check this out. Look at this. Look at these returns you can get. Look at the access to the inventory I have from these different banks that I could get portfolios from to sell for them. And when I went to this group to start, I was like, hey, I need about 250,000 to kick this off. And I did a 45-minute prezo. Everybody had a pamphlet and a little folder we went through, and I did a full presentation. It was like in the Shark Tank scenario. So I was up there in front of 8 sharks and did my spiel 45 minutes. At the end of the prezo, I said, oh, do you guys have any questions? And they're talking amongst themselves, and they're like, yeah, we have one question. I'm like, what's that?
How much can you take?
They said, don't you think $1 million would go a lot farther than 250? I'm like, yeah.
Exactly.
Boom. So kick that off. And then I grew that fund from 0 to 18 million, essentially, over a 4-year time frame. And so that's the background. Then we got into this training course, essentially, to teach folks how to do this. And that's where you see with Adam and I what we've done with Note Matrix and what we've developed over the last few years with doing that. We started off doing it live and in person, and then COVID hit. Then we had to switch. We had to switch to the online version and created a video vault. And so it's actually better because anybody can access it anywhere nationwide. You don't have to be local at an event and fly out to somewhere to do it. You can just do it straight online. So it's pretty. It's easy to access, easy to learn. We made it super simple, super easy, and we've just shown people how to make large profits and how to be protected in it.
I have my own beliefs about why. I think there's 2 classes of investments right now that are going to absolutely go crazy. One is notes, and the reason notes are going to go crazy is, unfortunately, there's a lot of people going upside down right now. And I think that a whole lot of non-performing mortgages are going to be available for pennies on the dollar, because as much as we think the bank wants all the properties, they don't. They want the ones with they want some for sure, but they don't want all the properties because their own portfolio, as massive as it is, can't handle it. So I think there's going to be a whole lot. And then the other one is business brokering, business buying and selling. I think businesses, for the same exact reason, are going to be extremely good investments right now. A lot of people understand buying and selling a business. I think most people don't have any clue of what note investing actually entails or what it means to invest in notes. So even though it may seem basic to you, could you speak to me as if I was a bright 7-year-old and explain what note investing is?
Sure. So essentially, when someone goes to get a house, if they don't have cash to buy that house, they're going to get a mortgage. They're going to get a loan. So a lot of people think, actually, let me back up there, because everybody thinks that a mortgage is a loan from the bank. It's not. The mortgage is just the security instrument that ties the loan to the title of the property. So we're talking about the loan that you get from the bank is either it is secured to the property by a mortgage or a deed of trust. So when you go get that loan, the banks either hold that loan and collect the cash flow, or they can turn it into a mortgage-backed security. They'll sell it in a portfolio, a pool of a bunch of loans, do the MBSs, or they'll hold it for a short period of time and sell it. And so whether it's performing, whether it's sub-performing, or it's non-performing, they get into these positions of moving the paper. So what that does is frees up their capital, and then it gives an opportunity for somebody else to buy that loan, right? So if I am sitting there and a bank has a portfolio of loans to buy, I can raise my hand and be like, hey, let me look at those. Can I look at those? I want to buy them. And so depending on the quality of the paper, non-performing, for example, there's a certain criteria I look for specifically to go buy the mortgage. And I'm not going to get on all the details of it, but what I'm looking at is something that is the deepest discount I can get. And it's in a state where if I have to foreclose, I can do it in a quick time frame, right? So if I buy that loan from the bank, what happens is they give me an assignment of mortgage once I buy it. And that assignment of mortgage then gives me the right to collect on that full debt of that loan. And that's recorded on the title of the property. So that's I kind of skipped ahead, because the point of actually going through the process is I would look at a portfolio. I would see the state that I are more interested or most interested in buying in, and I'd look at what options are in that state. And then I'd look at the indebtedness. I'd look at the value of the house and make sure that the loan to value is good. It's solid. Especially if you're buying the debt at a deep discount, you want to have the collateralization in there. So what we do is we identify the loan you want to buy. And then we start due diligence. So in due diligence, we're going to order a title report. So we're checking validity of ownership. We're checking the clear chain of title. We want to make sure that all the documents are in order as they should be, and that the person you're buying the loan from owns it. Sometimes people try to sell loans they don't own, and there's a whole mess. So order a title report. And the next thing we order is a BPO, which is called a broker's priced opinion. Essentially, it's a watered down appraisal. It's a drive-by evaluation. And basically someone's going by the house and they're actually walking around it. They can't get too close. They can't get inside because there's a homeowner in the house. So, but they're looking at it to make sure that it's in good condition, if it's occupied or if it's not. And then they do a deep dive on comparable sales and the market and what's this thing worth. Okay. So that's the second piece. Third piece is collateral review. So the collateral review piece is the loan documentation. So when that loan was written, when you bought your house or when anybody sits down to buy a loan, the stack of papers you're signing. It's like 350 pages, right? All the disclosures, all the promissory note, the mortgage, all that stuff. So when you sit down at that signing table and you're going through all those documents, signing it, that's the collateral piece of when you're buying the debt, that's what you're buying. So the last piece of this is going through the collateral review. I learned how to do that. I did it internally for the law firm, and then I did it for my own portfolios. And then I actually ran off another course to teach people how to do that. It's not rocket science. It is time consuming. If you don't have time to do it, you can hire, an attorney to do it, or you can hire other groups to do that. But basically what they're doing is making sure that everything's there that you need in the event you have to foreclose. Okay, so once we've completed those three things, that takes about 7 days on average to complete those, all three. Okay, now, if there's issues that come up through process, if there's title issues, are they curable? So when I'm looking at a deal and I already know I'm buying something at, let's say, 50 cents on the dollar, but I finish this due diligence and I identify issues. There's issues that are there that are curable. Sometimes there's fatal flaws. So
if you don't mind, pause just because I want people to grasp this. This is really important for them to understand the whole process. You've mentioned a few times that you're buying notes at a discount. So explain to the audience why a bank who maybe they're owed, let's just make it easy, $1 million on a piece of property. The homeowner, the person holding the mortgage, or the person that is paying on the mortgage rather, is making payments. So it's in good standing, but they owe $1 million more. And then you come in as a note buyer and you say, look, they owe you $1 million on this property. I'd like to buy the note from you for $700,000, right?
Well, it's not that easy. I understand where you're going with the direction of the explanation piece. Okay,
so you explain it because I'm not the expert.
No, it's okay. So in that scenario, so if there's a performing loan, the banks, if they're going to sell that loan, though, they might do it at par, might do it par plus. So what that means is if there's $1 million owed, they'll sell it for $1 million because it's performing, right? They don't want to get rid of that if it's a performing loan, unless they just want to free up capital and buy more. So the fact that the house is, let's say the house is, were you saying that there's negative equity or that's upside down? No, or that there's positive equity?
Yeah, you just explain notes in general, because I want people to understand why somebody would sell a note. It's kind of like an annuity, isn't it? That if I know I win the lottery for $1 million and I decide that I'm going to take the payments over time so I can get the whole $1 million, somebody comes along and says, hey, I see you won $1 million at the lottery. I'll pay you $800,000 today.
Got it.
And they say, well, 800,000 today or $1 million over 40 years. Yeah, I'll take the 800,000 a day today. And the reason that I bought that note, the winnings from them for 800,000 is I know I'm going to get that 20% return over time. So I've got the money, I've got the flow. That's why I would buy it, because I'll be profitable. Please explain to people what notes are in a really simplistic sense.
Okay. So simplistically, when a borrower can't make a payment anymore and they fall behind on payments, that's called a non-performing loan. So if the bank tries to do workouts and get them back on a track of making payments, because the bank, and you said it earlier, the banks don't want the house. They don't want the house. They just want the money. They want the yield. They want the cash flow. So if they can't get a loan back to reperforming, they're going to sell it, right? So it's called a scratch and dent, or they'll just want to get it off their book. So if it's non-performing, that's where this discount comes in. So if they can't get it back to work and start receiving that cash flow, they just want to get rid of it. So at that piece of where it intersects of, okay, we can't get it back to reperforming, we're going to sell it. And there's reasons why there's discounts that are greater than others. It could be geographically, it could be the amount of delinquency. It could be, so something's wrong with the loan. There could be whatever. There's different issues that come up with the reason why the bank wants to sell it. Sometimes they just want to free up capital, like you're saying, right? So they have, let's say they have $1 million stuck in a loan, and the guy's not making payments anymore, and they don't really want to foreclose on it, because when you go to foreclose, you run the risk of getting the property. I don't think that's a bad idea. I like getting properties that way. I've done that many times. I don't like to. So the last thing I want to do is foreclose on someone, but that's an option. But the banks say, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to sell the loan. So when they go to bring this loan to the market to sell it, some of them go for the highest and best bid. So they'll run this bidding war. Some, if you have an internal connection, let's say, hey, we're selling this thing at 60 cents on the dollar, 70 cents on the dollar. How fast can you close? Right. So, and then it's all relationship driven. So the tenure and the amount of time I've been in this space and working with the banks that I have that bring me portfolios, I have performance history with them. So they trust me. They know that when they bring a deal to me, if I'm interested, I can close quick. So the reason why they're selling it is for whatever their reason is, but essentially just to free up their capital. And I can figure out what the issues are if there are issues when I do my due diligence. But that's on a broad spectrum, or an easy way to explain it. The bank's only going to sell a loan that there's a problem with that they can't fix, and they want to free up that capital. So I jump in and be like, hey, let me look at it. I might buy it. Okay. So now then you have the other side of it is the performing loans, which is more in the line of what you're saying. So if you have $1 million loan and the bank's like, hey, this is a great loan. I've collected I got my origination fee at first when I wrote that loan. So, there's fees involved when you go get a loan from a bank. It's all these fees. So they collect the origination fees. They've collected cash flow. They just want to free up some capital and get rid of it. So they'll sell it at a discount. So I've seen loans, performing loans. The cheapest I've seen a performing solid loan, it's a really well-written loan, and the borrower makes payments, and he's got a good credit history, is about 90 cents on the dollar. So you're getting a 10% discount on that debt right after that when you buy it. Sometimes you can buy them cheaper. Now, depending on the quality of the paper, depending on the quality of the borrower and the worthiness of the credit worthiness and the payment histories, you can still get performing loans at about 70 cents on the dollar, 80 cents on the dollar. So what I mean by that is when I say this 80 to 70 cents on the dollar piece, think about it as 100 if there's a $100,000 loan, right, and it's non-performing, I can buy that for $40,000 from the bank if it's non-performing. So $100,000 mortgage, I buy it for 40 grand. Guess what? That means I have a 60% upswing. I got a $60,000 profit margin I want to capture as quickly as I can. So as I work through the exit strategies, that's one of the things we developed also, is 26 different exit strategies when you buy a loan, on how to work through it, how to navigate through it. And it's a blueprint. You just walk through the process. So, but when I buy that loan, I want to capture that profit as quickly as I can, right? So that's what I mean when I say at a deep discount, or 40 cents on the dollar, or 50 cents on the dollar. For the folks that don't know what that really means, that's what that means. So just the easy round number, $100,000 mortgage, I can buy it at 40% of that debt. That's $40,000, and I have that upswing to capture.
So the bank's selling it to you for $40,000 because they don't want the house.
Right. They don't want the house.
So anybody wondering why would they sell that debt off? They know the homeowner, the person that bought the house, that has the loan, isn't going to pay. They're probably going to go BK, or at least foreclosure, and they don't want the house back. So they say, okay, we just want to get something.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen on that scenario, and again, I'm the bright 7-year-old. What's going to happen? You're going to buy the note. Now you've got a $100,000 asset you bought for $40,000. One of two things is going to happen. It's either going to go right. The person making payments, the homeowner, either gets right on their loan, or you restructure the loan and you say, we realize you can't make the back payments, just make the present payments. Or you say, all right, I bought it for 40 cents on the dollar. I'm going to sell it for 60 cents on the dollar and let somebody else go collect on it. Or you say, you know what? You can't make the payments. We're going to foreclose. And then you get the asset back. What kind of equity does the asset usually have if the bank sold it to you for 40 cents on the dollar?
So the equitable position is another piece to the puzzle. So it's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up, because when you go so here's when you look at the deal to purchase the loan, if there is negative equity, meaning it's upside down, so they owe more than it's worth. Let's say they owe 150,000, but the house is only worth 100,000. So when I go in to write my offer, it's no longer based on the total loan amount, because
Right.
because they know that I'm not gonna be able to collect that 150,000. So if the house is only worth 100 grand, I'm gonna get that 40% discount off of now the value of the house. So it's I don't want to complicate things, but there's a difference of if there's equity or if there isn't equity. So that's another piece too. When you're looking at deals right now, there's a lot of equity in properties, or there's it's gained. It went up and down. It's cyclical. Has its peaks and valleys, and there's a good amount of equity in properties today. So we don't really see a lot of negative equity deals. So in this scenario, you could buy a loan that is it's the loan to value. Let's say the house is worth 150,000, and you got a $100,000 mortgage. So it's the opposite now. Instead of negative equity, you got a $150,000 house, $100,000 mortgage. It's non-performing. I'm going to buy that for 40,000. I can collect that total $100,000 because now that's my debt. That's the assignment of the mortgage, that debt that's recorded on the title. So I own that. I can capture the full $100,000. So I bought it for 40, I can sell it at 100. So look at that number. The house is worth 150,000. That helps me tremendously when I go to foreclose, because now that means if the house is worth 150,000 and I set it at the auction, the debt on the house is all I can collect at the auction, right? So if it's a $100,000 debt and I set that at 80,000 to create a feeding frenzy and a bidding war, it's more than likely going to go up to the $100,000 that's owed, and you're going to get a full payoff. And the reason why is you got a $100,000 mortgage with a $150,000 value. So
you have 50 in equity.
Yeah. So whoever's buying it at auction is stepping into that with an equitable position of
So
the 50,000 more.
they're making 50% of their money already
Right off the bat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's just
how prevalent are these deals? How easy is it to find note deals versus any other kind of real estate deals?
Well, for those that are new to the game, there's different websites out there. There's a few out there, and that you can go start to learn with, and they've kind of changed it and made it a little bit easier for folks to get into this space. But I've been in it for so long that I have the relationships with the banks, private equity funds, and hedge funds, and different folks that I've worked with over the years that send me portfolios. So I probably have about 250 million on my inbox right now of loans to look at to purchase potentially. And every day I just get emails sent to me, just boom, 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 boom. So it's because of the time I've been in this space that I have that connection with these lenders. So we share that with the folks that join our group and sign up with us. You don't have to go out and try to find where the portfolios are, where the notes are. We make it super simple with deal flow. So, like I mentioned, there's a few websites out there that you can find some notes. That's new. That's only a few years in the process. That wasn't when I got in this game. That wasn't even there. I'd have established these relationships with these banks and worked my way up from the bottom to the top with it. And so overall, that year of those years of experience with it and the relationships we built, that's what we offer to our folks that join our group, our mastermind, and our training course is deal flow. So you have instant access to all those portfolios, and you don't have to go out and try to find them. The other thing is those websites that are out there that have some, they're not, it's not
well organized.
Yeah, they're not well organized, and I don't think they have as great as an offering. There isn't as great of loans on those websites. Yeah, when you're new to the game, you want to get in and kind of poke around and figure stuff out. You can do that, but So
talk to me. I want to get back to what you guys do and what services you offer to students and how you can assist the people watching the show. What's the average target return for somebody that's investing in a note? What kind of a percentage is a target return?
So it depends on the investment strategy you want to go with. Right. So you can diversify a portfolio with performing loans. You're getting mailbox money. And let's say you want a 9 to 10% return on your capital. Awesome. You can park your money there and you're going to get that kind of return. If you want to go into the chunk money, we call it, then you get into buying the non-performing loans and working them from acquisition to disposition, which is capturing the profits from however which way you're going to exit out of that deal. And on average, those profits are 40 to 80% on average. With what our students and our folks have been doing in our mastermind, 40 to 80% returns per deal. Sometimes you knock it out of the park.
What's the time frame of the average deal? Is it 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year?
On average, it's state specific based on timelines to process. So, but on average, it depends on what state you're buying in, right? But I can tell you the quickest you can get in and out of a deal is about 60 days. Okay. The longest you can stay in a deal is a couple of years. So we show you how to avoid the pitfalls of those longer deals on the non-performer to work through, right? So if obviously you're buying a performing loan, you want to keep it for as long as you can because you just want that money coming in. The non-performing loans of getting in and out can be as quick as 60 days, could be You know, I've been stuck in a deal for about 4 years, and I was in New York. I'll never buy in New York again because it's just a nightmare trying to foreclose on in states like that. So that's another thing we look at.
They give everybody grief in New York, apparently.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, it's
crazy.
nonstop. So, you know, it depends on geographically what area you're honing in on, and how quickly you want to capture your returns and what kind of returns you're looking for. So, but I can tell you this, it's the most collateralized investing strategy I've seen. It's the most protected way of investing that I've seen out there. You're not fixing flipping. You're not fixing toilets and leaky roofs and side work of the house or the yard work or anything like that. You're buying the debt, you're buying the mortgage. And so the protection pieces to it is, first, you get a title policy. The title policy ensures your first lien position of that debt you just bought that's tied to that property. So first level of protection is a title policy. Second level of protection is hazard insurance. Something happens to that house, it's covered by the insurance. You're paid off, right? The third thing is the house itself. That's the third, and it's the strongest piece to this whole puzzle, is the house is the collateral. So you have 3 different layers of protection and collateralization, essentially protection, with this investment strategy. And tell me something better. Where else can you go invest money? You're not putting it into Bitcoin. We're not buying air out here. You know what I mean? We're not putting it in stocks and bonds that have no real security to them. It's super protected. And that's what I loved about it. And that's the easiest piece of coming into this. Part of it is, you know, people think about with real estate, oh, I got to buy a house and do a fix and flip. And you run into all the pitfalls and the scary things with that, skeletons coming out of the closet and cracked foundations and all these things. You're not buying the house. Who cares? You're buying the debt. You know what I mean? Right. So, and it doesn't matter where the house is. You're not going to live in it. Unless the strategy is you want to buy a loan, foreclose on it, and take the house. That's what brought me to Hawaii back in 2014. I bought a $2.4 million loan from Wells Fargo, picked it up for $1.6 million. Took us 9 months to foreclose on it. I foreclosed on it, beachfront property in Kihei, Maui. And 9 months in and out, that's what brought me out here to Hawaii back then. And tremendous. And then we ended up selling that house a year later, and we sold it for $2.9 million. So I had a pretty large rip on that one. I look back now, I'm like, should I have kept that property? But I made some good money on it, and we took that money and I recycled it and bought more deals. That's the name of the game. You want to create a big portfolio very quickly, very strategically. You could do it in this way where you're buying these non-performing loans, and look at all the protection clauses you have with it. And as long as you have the proper coaching and the proper fundamental understanding of how this works, you can be very successful with it. So that's what we've kind of taught and created in our course, is showing folks all the pitfalls to avoid, and also all of the ways to cut corners to get to the point. What's the point of what you're trying to do here? You know, what kind of strategy do you want to buy with either performing loans or non-performing? And we can go either strategy and show you how to do it very quickly, very easily. And so there's 25 different attorneys that work with us. So our students and members get access to all the attorneys. Our loan servicers, we have 5 different loan servicers. So what that means is, when we buy the loan, we have a licensed bonded loan servicer that sends out the mortgage statements. They'll do collection calls. You know, you're buying the loan. You don't have to call the people. Most people don't like to. I like to, because I did it. I've done it. Did it forever. I did it for the law firm. I did it when I was working for the bank. So I'm not shy. I'll call anybody. Hey, I bought your mortgage. How you doing? You owe me money. You gonna make a payment? You know what I mean? Or whatever. Yeah. So, but the other folks that, you know, if you don't want to have engagement with the borrower, your loan servicer does that. So they're licensed, they're bonded, they do all that heavy lifting for you. They do the accounting work for you. And you get access to our other tools. We have a calculator called the Catalyst that I created. It's a patented calculator, and essentially it's a calculator that gives you a projection of all your different profit abilities. And there's all the 26 different exit strategies that I've created. So you simply plug in some parameters, the loan information, property address, total debt owed, what state it's in, and it's going to spit out a pro forma essentially and say, hey, here's how much money you can make on this deal and how quickly you can do it. So you never go into a deal blindly. So all of our members, all of our students, everybody that comes into this, they can use this tool. It's extremely powerful, shows you exactly what kind of profits you can make on the deal before you purchase it. And we don't buy the loans either until we've completed due diligence. So we're not putting money in escrow. There's no earnest funds. We're not tying up capital and losing money because we back out and don't close. It's a different ballgame than, it's not like buying a house. You know, we go through the processes of buying a house. Buying a note's different. and there's no money spent on the deal until you've completed your due diligence. So your only out-of-pocket expenses are the cost of title, BPO, and collateral review, which runs you about $100 per thing, right? So $300 just to evaluate a deal and make sure it's a good purchase or not. So, yeah, so that's,
Which
I
is
mean,
very,
essentially,
very, very different. Which is very different than actually buying a house.
yeah, absolutely.
Buying a piece of real estate, you've got way more expense up front before you can even determine whether or not it's a good deal.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. You got your inspections, your termite
Appraisal.
inspections, all the crazy stuff, the appraisal. You got the broker, the real estate agents, and the fees from both sides, and all that stuff that's going on. And so, and again, just keep in mind, you're buying the debt. You're not buying the house. You are
Right.
buying the debt. So,
So I speak in front of a lot of different groups and have for 4 decades. And whenever I stand in front of a group, one of the things I want to know is how many people in the group are actually doing what the group is supposed to be doing. So if I
yeah,
stand on a stage of crypto currency investors, I ask how many of you, are invested in cryptocurrency? How many of you have profited over the last 5 years? Uh, Everybody puts their hand up initially, but then I say, okay, how many of you are profitable today?
yeah,
And then most of the hands go down because they're not. Maybe they had a bit of a bump, but they lost it all
yeah,
too.
right,
If I
right,
stand on a stage with real estate investors, generally speaking, doesn't matter whether it's multifamily, doesn't matter whether it's, fix and flip, doesn't matter whether it's ugly or pretty, doesn't matter what kind of house investing they're doing. If I ask how many of you have actually done a profitable deal, 5% or less put their hands up.
hmm,
I used to speak in front of a group that was the largest at the time. We're talking maybe 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago, of note investors. And when I asked how many of you have ever profited off investing in notes, the reverse of it was true. 95% of the people have their hand in the air saying, yes,
yeah,
I've made money with it. And what I think it is I just don't think most people understand note investing. And I don't think they've ever been exposed to it. They
yeah,
just, it makes sense to the common person. I'm buying that asset, then I'm selling that asset. They don't understand all the money's made in the money. All the
right,
money is
yeah,
made in the numbers.
yeah,
And if they want to become as close to owning a bank as they could possibly be, this is the knowledge they need. So
100%.
so there's zero doubt in my mind that with all the foreclosures that are about to happen, you got all of these people that during the scamdemic and all the lockdowns, they 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 put off making their mortgage payments. So then when the lockdowns stopped, the banks put their mortgage payment on the back end of their loan. So now they're back to making payments. But what that didn't account for was the fact that they didn't have money to make their mortgage during the lockdowns, but they also didn't have money to pay for their food or anything else. So even
Yeah,
though, yeah, now they're making money again, now the lockdowns are done, yeah, they can start paying their mortgage, they're behind. And most people were barely getting by before the lockdowns. They're not recovering fully. So they're going to have to downsize. So they're going to have to get out of their property. They're likely going to move into apartments. So if you're going to invest in any buildings, yeah, buy multifamily. But better
yeah,
still, at 40% average annual return, my gosh, such a simple decision for people to
yeah,
say, at least I want to learn about this. What's the
right,
worst thing that could happen? You learn about it, you don't like it. What's the best thing? You say, oh my God, what was I ever thinking? And I
right,
think that's the piece that, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that one deal, and you said it, and I want to be clear with people that note investing is not for the faint of heart. And when I say that, what I mean is, yeah, you're probably going to have to call somebody and say, where's my money? Or
yeah,
have somebody call on your behalf and say, where's my money? I don't want to foreclose on you, but you got to pay your mortgage. And if you can't pay your mortgage, I've got to foreclose on the property. That's just life. And I think that most people don't realize that the profits available to people inside of notes, it's not comparable to real estate investing. It's not even
yeah,
close.
not even close.
And money is where the money is.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. You're spot on with that. And um, we're just waiting for the floodgates to open, essentially, because there is a lot of shadow inventory. There's a lot of folks that are behind you that had these deferments, and we were part of it. So when we were buying these loans, actively involved in being a practitioner in it, practicing what I'm teaching to folks. When COVID hit, we had moratoriums. We were roadblocked. So on deals that were coming, we had foreclosures coming up, and we're only 2 months out. We're like, it's gonna be a good rip. I'm making good money on this one. Or they were in the middle of doing a refinance or something. So there's different exits, not just being the bad guy and foreclosing on people and taking their house. That's the last thing I want to do. But if I have to, I will. So that's what we're doing, because there's other ways they can pay me off, right? They can refinance their loan. They can sell their house. They can there's different options. We've got 26 different routes to take basically on what their options are, right? So and so the point is those that we had that were in the foreclosure position and only a month or 2 or 5 months out or whatever it was, those got put on pause, and there's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do. The accrual continued to accrue, the late fees, the penalties, the interest, and all that stuff. But it was peanuts when I was looking at a big chunk return coming, and then not being able to collect it because I was waiting for the moratoriums to be lifted. And I get it. It was a tough time. People lost their jobs, especially after the other things came out, where the mandate came out and you had to get the jab or you're going to get fired. And so it's been a crazy roller coaster. But the point to all that is there already is a huge influx of these non-performing loans that the banks just don't want. So that means it's just more inventory coming down the pipeline. I mean, we're pretty loaded as it is. I mean, I get consistently portfolios sent to me every single day. And we have so many loans coming in, I don't have enough money to buy them all. You know what I mean? I don't have an endless cash flow of money. And I stay, the cool thing is it's comfortable. You can do this anywhere. I'm sitting at the beach. As long as I have my laptop and my cell phone, I can do deals anywhere on anywhere that I am. I can travel around the planet and be anywhere doing deals, right? Because you don't have to go inspect the property yourself. We've got different groups that have boots on the ground in different areas. We've got people to go check the property itself when you get the BPO done. That's part of our team collectively, where we order all these things on a national level. So where you are as the investor, you come in and you start buying these mortgages, you can be kicking it anywhere you want to and making money while you're sleeping. You know what I mean? You don't have to go into an office. And so it's the most hands-off way of investing out there, with the most collateralized way of doing it and all the different protections that come with it. And so, yeah, and a lot of folks, it's becoming more prevalent now, I think, to an extent. More people are starting to hear about, oh, you can buy notes, but this 2010 is when I first got into it. And someone told me, I was doing foreclosure defense on a property. And one of these guys I was doing it for said, hey, my brother asked if we can buy the mortgage. And I'm like, what do you mean if we can buy the mortgage? What are you talking about? I thought you'd have to be a big bank to buy a mortgage. So, and then a couple months later, someone said the same thing. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? You can't just go buy a mortgage? But I had enough people inquiring about it, right? It was like, this has to be a thing. So I called my contacts and I was like, hey, can I buy a mortgage? So that's how this all came to be. But back in 2010, nobody really knew about buying more notes unless you were a banker already. You're already in this space. And we didn't recreate the wheel. We're just doing what banks have done since the beginning of banking, right? Now you just have that ability to get in at a lower level to become the bank and buy the debt. And that money is protected by the house itself. And there's a lot of cool things that can happen with that. And so anyway, yeah, it's we're looking at a big waterfall effect, essentially, and the floodgates opening up with more coming down the pipeline, which just means more deals, more profits to make. So if you guys want to get in, we've got all the tools that you need, all the support, and the mastermind group with everybody else that's in the group that works together on deals also.
So you guys, obviously, you've had massive success dealing with $100 million plus portfolios and more. Now you're teaching students. Clearly, it's a phenomenal way to make money. The question any student watching this right now that knows nothing about notes is going to have is, yeah, you can do it, but I don't know that I can. I know because I have carefully reviewed what you and Adam are doing and how you're teaching students, what all of the components of your training courses are. Tell the audience a little more about how you support the students to ensure that they are successful as long as they'll do what they're directed to do.
Sure. So when you get started with us, we give you access login credentials to something we call the video vault. Okay. And you got about you got about 6 hours worth of training modules. Then it takes you step by step through the fundamentals, right? So for those that don't know anything about notes, and even for those that do know about notes, it's a good way to just get a refresher course for those that know about notes. But anybody that doesn't, it's going to take you through the basic fundamentals of what everything is. So you learn all the acronyms, the language, the terminology, how we do what we do, where we do it, why we do it, right? So once you complete that, then there's an exam. Once you complete that exam, then you get a certificate of completion. Once that's done, then you enter into the masterminds. Okay. And so in the mastermind groups, we hold those weekly, and all the other members that get in, it's all on Zoom. So you could be wherever you want to be and hop on the Zoom. They're an hour long. Sometimes they run longer, depending on what the topics are and what we're doing. But essentially what we're going through with this is once you've completed the training and you understand the logic and the terminology and the language, when you step into the masterminds and you hear these words, you understand what it means because you've completed that course. Okay, cool. I know what you guys are talking about. Awesome. People that would try to get into the mastermind that didn't know anything about notes and didn't take the training, they'd be lost. So that's why we created that simplistic way of and the training, the video vaults. But anyway, you get into the masterminds, and then we say, okay, let's look at what you want to do. What do you want to accomplish with your investment strategies? And we determine something, and we create something called a buy box. So we say, okay, how much capital do you have to deploy? And do you want to diversify with non-performing loans and performing loans? Do you want mailbox money, or do you want chunk money, or do you want both? So then we look at that and say, okay, cool. Let's look at a portfolio together. And we show you, here's a good deal, and here's why. Here's a bad deal, and here's why. And we say, now you show us kind of use the same methodology we just use, and you show us what you think is a good deal. So we're going through a portfolio that has 100 loans in it, right? And we're just looking at stuff and identifying it. Then we show you how to evaluate that, how to create little columns to run your math on your returns. And then we show you how to take that information and copy paste it into the calculator. So that calculator does all the math for you. So once we've done that, we show you exactly what you can do with your money and buying these deals. Then we start carving out loans for you, and you get your capital teed up. Make sure you have your funds ready to deploy, and then you submit your bid. So when portfolios come through, we'll look at the portfolios with you, and we can identify ones for you that we think are good deals, or you can bring them to us. We'll look at them, which way you want to do it. Once you determine what you want to proceed with, then we submit an offer to the bank, and then we start our due diligence. So they send us the collateral folders. We order the title report, the BPO, we do all that stuff. We work with you through the whole process, through every deal that you're doing. Not only us, but collectively in the group. So everybody else that's in this little community that works together. And there's other folks that do joint ventures with others in the group. So it's a collective experience. Everybody's working together on this. And so in addition to us, you have access to other folks in the group. We also have access to a private equity fund that lends money, right? So they'll lend up to 75% of capital. So for easy round numbers, to say $100,000 mortgage, all you have to do is bring in 25 grand. They'll fund the difference of that 75,000. And the rates range between 6% to 10. It's deal specific. 12-month term on this lending space, but it's a way that you can really leverage this extra capital to get into this space to buy loans with using someone else's money, right? So anyway, that's pretty much. Unless I'm missing some other stuff here, it's pretty.
No, it doesn't sound like you guys have missed anything. It sounds like you have the education, you have the funding, you have the support, you have the ongoing hand-holding. It couldn't get any easier. It couldn't be any better. I know, and the reason I know is obviously I've done a lot of due diligence on you guys. I fully support and recommend what you guys are doing, and highly encourage people to check this out. And again, with all that you're doing, the company that I spoke for, like I said, 15 years ago, was huge. And for reasons not related to the note side of their company, the owner of the company actually bought a stock trading software. And the stock trading software ended up, when the stock market went south, buried his whole company. So it buried the note side. He went out of business because he lost so much money on the stock trading side of things. And he couldn't keep a business that was already doing $300 million a year in note education, couldn't keep that business afloat because of a bad investment somewhere else. And I talked to him after the fact, and I said, because he went bankrupt. And again, he had a seminar company doing $300 million on the note side, let alone his stock trading company. I said, what would you do different? He said, I would have never touched anything except for notes.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. There you go.
It's,
And so again,
yeah.
the reason I love notes is they're easy. The reason I love Note Matrix is you truly, whether you know it or not, and I know you're not a seminar guy, you're an investor. You're a
Yeah.
notes guy. That's your expertise. And that's what I love about you and Adam is that you guys aren't seminar guys. And
Yeah.
because you're not seminar guys, you didn't like so many people these days, you can see the ads on social media. Oh, create your course in 3 minutes. Let AI create your
Yeah.
course for you. And I'm going,
Yeah.
okay. So basically what you're saying is I don't know crap and I want somebody else to teach people the crap I don't know, or worse, have AI create crap that isn't even real.
Right.
And what's exciting for me is that you guys are the opposite. You aren't guys that are marketers that said, hey, let's find something to sell. Hey, let's sell education on notes. You guys are people that have massively succeeded making a boatload of money buying and selling notes, who have said, gosh, I got a lot of people that sure would like to know what we're doing. Why don't we just show them what they're doing? And the other thing I will say, and this is across the board, I know what the previous company was charging for their education, and you guys are charging pennies on the dollar for that education, much like teaching people how to invest in notes for pennies on the dollar. You guys are charging pennies on the dollar for your
Yeah.
education. And I know that you have offered a tremendous discount, a huge discount, a 40% discount actually, to anybody that wants to invest in the program right now. And I know that you've got a limited number of those slots available because you limit the number of people that come in to your program at any given time. And I think that's wise. It gives everybody a better opportunity to succeed. And so, and I just want to reiterate, if I'm off base, you tell me. We agreed that you would take 5 new students on at that huge discount, that 40% discount to the program. And again, they can talk to the coach and find out what that actually means in dollars when they talk to the coach. But we can take 5 people on. Is that still good? Can we set up appointments for 5 people to chat with a coach, find out more about it, and see if it's a good fit for everybody?
Yeah. Isn't that filled up yet?
No,
I'm
it
just
will
kidding.
be. I guarantee.
No, but
It will very
yeah.
quickly. So I just want to say, if you are interested in learning more about notes, and if you're interested in learning more about Vesper and Note Matrix, and you love it as much as I do, because I know I'm pulling a huge chunk of change out of my real estate holdings right now, and I'm putting it into 2 things, the 2 classes that I talked about. I'm putting it into business investments, and I'm putting it into note investing. So this is something very near and dear to my heart, something that I wholeheartedly agree with and support, and would highly recommend people take a look at it. If you want to take a look at the Note Matrix program and find out what the 40% discount actually means, contact my office, 1-800-92-POWER. Contact the office on our hotline, 1-800-92-POWER. Tell Anthony you watched the show. Tell him that you would like to talk to a coach. And if you're one of the first 5 people that reaches out right away and tells Anthony, yes, please let me talk to a coach from Note Matrix and find out if it's a good fit, find out more about the program, find out what the investment is and so forth, then call 1-800-92-POWER. Call it right now because, yeah, it's only 5 slots and they're going to go fast. And at that deep discount, they're going to fill up those 5 available spaces almost immediately. Before we wrap up today, Vesper, and by the way, your partner, I don't know if you know this, I'm sure you do. Your partner has you listed on his phone as Vesperado.
Yeah. Yeah. That was an old nickname from high school and it just stuck, Vesperado.
Well, yeah,
But
apparently neither of you have aged. So
yeah.
it's a great thing. But before we wrap up, how do people find out more about you? Is there social media they can follow you on? Is there a website they can go to?
Sure. We have Instagram and Facebook. It's Note Investing Online, or Note Matrix Online. Sorry, Note Matrix Online is our Instagram and Facebook, and you can get a hold of us that way. Also on LinkedIn, you can find me under Vesper, and you'll see Note Matrix listed as well as the other company, Note TradeX. And so yeah, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, you can get us there, and be glad to talk to anybody about getting started with us. And this is a great offer I think you brought up here, and it's the 5 slots that are open. So Yeah, and I'm excited to bring other folks on and show you the real power behind this too. I know you have experience with your buddy Marshall with what he did in the notes and that conviction that came with it, and him saying that's all he wish he did. This is all I've done for 24 years is notes. So
I love
it's
it.
just yeah, it's exciting to bring people in to show them how to make some super chunks of money, super large chunks of money in a very quick way, a very protected way. So
Yeah, and I'm
yeah.
very excited to be exposing this to our tribe. This is an area right now, at the very least, if not us now, find out more information about investing in notes, because this is a class of investing that is going to just absolutely, in the next, I say 3 years especially, going to do really well. As we go into an election season, no matter what happens, there's going to be some changes right after November, early January, February, and you want to get ahead of the curve and check it out. 1-800-92-POWER. First 5 people that qualify, a call, find out if you do. We'll get a nice 40% discount on the overall program to fill those last 5 slots. Any last thing you want to say to the audience before we wrap up?
That's it. It's go time. Let's make some money. Have a good
Awesome.
one.
Vesperado, great to have you on the show. You're amazing. Enjoy Hawaii.
You.
Thanks for taking the time to be here. God bless.
You bet. Let's do it again. Thank you. All right.
You bet, brother. Bye now. Hey, it's a great day. I'm Marshall Sylver. 1-800-92-POWER. If you would like to find out if note investing is right for you and to take advantage of that huge 40% discount on the Note Matrix program that is available, get that appointment right now. In addition, if you're brand new to Marshall Sylver Live, welcome. Glad you're here. Every single day, Monday through Friday, that's not a holiday, we are live. We're not just pre-recorded. We're actually live, which is very unusual. We are live for the very reason that we like the unknown. We like to live on the edge, baby. And during that time, we do a couple things. We have phenomenal guests like Stephen Vesper and all the guests that we have on the show. And we also just answer your questions. So today, not only do I have those 5 slots available for the Note Matrix opportunity, I've also got 3 opportunities for you to get 2 tickets to Turning Point. Turning Point is an event that I've been doing for almost 40 years now to help you change the quality of your life in every area and get way more done. We're going to give 2 sets of tickets to the first 3 callers to 1-800-92-POWER to Turning Point to give you an idea of what you're about to see. This video is Turning Point. Take a look.
Turning Point. A total change in direction for the better.
Who here is ready for a turning point? You absolutely have to have one. Put them high.
The 2-day Turning Point seminar is different than any other program in that it does more than just teach you the skills for your relationships, wealth, and power. It also programs you on a subconscious level to put those skills into immediate use.
This weekend is about empowerment. This weekend is about you understanding how to take charge of your own life.
You will learn total control of your thoughts and emotions. How to use PND, or psychoneural duplication, to take on the thoughts and actions of others to produce similar results. Whether it's losing weight, changing habits, being a millionaire.
When you think what a millionaire thinks and you do what a millionaire does, you'll produce similar results.
You will learn to program these powerful tools at a subconscious level for immediate and lasting results.
Your conscious mind is what's called your critical factor. It's the mind you're using right now to determine whether the information I'm giving to you will work for you or not. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is merely a computer. It's non-critical. It doesn't even have the ability to make judgment. So all trance, hypnosis, reprogramming is setting aside the critical factor of your conscious mind and non-critically accepting suggestions.
And empowering.
To make a fear vanish, you must experience it fully.
As it helps you create your life exactly the way you want it. Bring your family closer. Find the love of your life. Create strategies for wealth. Learn irresistible influence, and so much more. Because of the intimate nature of this course, seats are very limited. Register now before your life passes you by and there are no more turning points for you. Tens of thousands of people have learned this information and are using it daily.
You don't get angry if you get fired from your job and you know that within 2 years you will be a multi-millionaire.
It's your time.
There's a way for you to win this game that is different than how you're doing it, and it works.
It's your life.
When you learn how to do that, you become more powerful, and power is for use.
It's your turning point.
You are totally loved. It's been a great time being with you today. Monday is Memorial Day, so you have yourself a phenomenal Memorial Day weekend. We return on Tuesday. Until then, celebrate life. Bye for now. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Sylver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.